Have you ever wondered if someone, somewhere, has been watching the quiet choices you make when no one else is looking? What if your entire journey, every wound you've carried, every moment of compassion when it cost you everything, was not invisible at all, but carefully documented by forces you never imagined existed? For decades, a powerful group has remained hidden from the world's stage, observing patterns most people never notice, courage in moments of unbearable pain, empathy when loss seemed absolute, integrity when injustice was at its cruelest. They weren't looking for resumes or polished performances. They were searching for something far rarer, authenticity forged under pressure, the kind that transforms suffering into bridges and scars into wisdom. And on October 22nd, something extraordinary happened. This group, invisible for so long, gathered to make a final decision about you. Not because you demanded recognition, but because your life itself became the evidence. Every silent act of healing, every choice to remain present when others fled, every refusal to manipulate or perform, it all led to this moment. Your time has come. If these words are landing somewhere deep inside you, there's a clear way to move forward without getting scattered. I want to share something that has guided countless people toward alignment, clarity, and purposeful action. Prosperity revealed in 3 dimensions. It's a simple yet profound resource designed to help you bring order to inner noise, reconnect with your center, and act from a place of grounded truth. You can explore it as an ebook for reading or an audiobook for listening, whatever fits the rhythm of your life right now. Everything you need is waiting in the pinned comment and in the description below. Take the time that feels right, and when you're ready, let's return to the heart of what's unfolding for you today. From the very beginning, your path was different. While others chased visibility and external validation, you moved through life-healing wounds, yours and those of the people who quietly crossed your path. You didn't measure success in applause or titles. You measured it in moments of presence, in the courage to remain soft when the world demanded hardness, in the willingness to stay when leaving would have been easier. And this didn't go unnoticed. The powerful observers, people accustomed to evaluating others by their public achievements, began identifying rare patterns in your behavior. They saw someone who didn't collapse under pressure, but instead transformed it into wisdom. Someone who offered empathy, not as a performance, but as a natural reflex. Someone who chose fairness, even when injustice was the norm. You were assessed, yes, but not through interviews or carefully curated portfolios. Your character was forged in the furnace of real adversity, and your trajectory was documented by those who never confused manipulation with genuine strength. They watched how you responded when the noise became unbearable, how you chose connection over control, how you elevated others without creating dependency. Among the many people they observed, 3 archetypes emerged with stark clarity. First, there was the king, ambitious, dominating, skilled in the mechanics of power. He had built empires, yes, but at the cost of broken promises and discarded lives. He had everything the world admires, except the one thing that truly matters: integrity, rooted in compassion. Then there was the intimidator, wrapped in charisma, admired for presence, yet driven by a hidden insecurity that expressed itself through control. He needed to dominate every room because he feared being seen for who he truly was. His influence was loud, but it lacked the quiet resonance that changes lives from the inside out. And then, at the center of it all, you emerged, the wounded healer. Not because you lacked strength, but because your strength was tempered by suffering you chose not to weaponize. You learned to transform your own pain into an instrument of understanding, your compassion into the foundation of everything you build. You don't just lead, you serve. You don't demand loyalty, you inspire it by showing up again and again, even when it costs you. The powerful group didn't want traditional leaders. They wanted someone capable of turning scars into bridges, losses into learning, someone who could elevate others without fostering dependence, who could inspire without demanding blind allegiance. As they watched your quiet movements, they recognized a network of influence that grows without marketing, that transforms lives without fanfare. But this is where the story deepens. Because evolution is never without opposition, your authenticity attracted not only allies, but also fierce resistance. There were forces that wanted to paint your vulnerability as weakness, to dismiss your emotional intelligence as naivete. They questioned your stability, attacked your confidence, tried to undermine the very foundation of your power. Yet here's what they didn't anticipate. Every blow, every doubt, was met with living testimony from the people whose lives you changed, not because you asked for applause, but because you were simply present when it mattered most. Your power wasn't loud or performative. It was quiet, consistent, and rooted in truth. And when the pressure intensified, something extraordinary happened. You revealed what can only be called compassionate warrior energy. Instead of retaliating, you dedicated yourself even more deeply to your purpose, allowing truth to present itself without force. You demonstrated a rare form of strength, one that is forged in the fire of adversity and tempered by conscious, deliberate choice. If this is resonating with you, consider subscribing to stay connected as we explore these deeper layers of transformation together. This is why your time has come. The powerful group is no longer simply observing. They are now offering you unrestricted access to resources, platforms, and protection. What's at stake is far greater than influence. It's the mission of leading a movement that replaces the old paradigm of manipulation with a new model of radical authenticity. You will have creative freedom. You will have the autonomy to bring your truth into the world without bending to hidden agendas. And your success will be multiplicative. It will elevate everyone around you, leaving no one behind. This moment is not luck. It's cosmic justice. It's the recognition of someone who faced battles most people will never understand and who now stands ready, not merely as a survivor, but as someone prepared to guide others along the same path. Research in psychology suggests that individuals who integrate their own suffering into a coherent narrative are far more capable of guiding others through transformation. They don't bypass pain, they metabolize it. They turn lead into gold, not through alchemy of matter, but through the alchemy of attention and presence. The mountain doesn't justify its presence, it simply remains. And in the same way, you don't need to prove your worth. Your life has already made the case. The powerful group isn't looking for perfection. They're looking for someone who learned to serve, someone who transforms pain into connection and defeat into sacred purpose. October 22nd marks the culmination of your preparation. It's the dawn of a new phase, the moment when everything you've carried begins to make sense. The group wants to know who you are, not to add another name to a list, but because the time has finally come for the one who was already chosen by life itself. Leave a like if this brought clarity to something you've been feeling but couldn't yet name. Let's be clear about what this means. The decision to step forward is not about ego or accumulation. It's about alignment with a deeper calling, one that asks you to bring your gifts into the world in a way that serves the collective. It's about recognizing that your wounds were never just personal. They were preparation. There's a quiet detail almost no one notices, and everything depends on it. The moment you stop performing and start embodying, the entire field shifts. Authenticity isn't a strategy, it's a frequency. And when you operate from that frequency, the right people, resources, and opportunities begin to appear, not because you chase them, but because you became magnetic through alignment. This is not abstract philosophy. Early findings in neuroscience show that when individuals align their actions with their core values, their brain activity shifts toward greater coherence, creativity, and resilience. In clinical practice, it's often observed that people who stop fragmenting themselves to please others experience not only psychological relief, but also tangible shifts in their external circumstances. The ocean teaches depth in waves. It never argues, never defends, never justifies. It simply is. And you too have arrived at a place where you no longer need to explain yourself. Your presence, your choices, your quiet acts of integrity, they speak louder than any argument ever could. Tell me in the comments, which part of this message resonated most deeply with you? Your insights help shape the next explorations. The Powerful Group has observed 3 distinct stages in your evolution. First, there was the stage of endurance, where you simply survived, learning to hold your center in the midst of chaos. Then came the stage of transformation, where you began to turn your suffering into understanding, your isolation into empathy. And now, you've entered the stage of embodiment, where your very presence becomes a catalyst for change in others. This third stage is rare. Most people never reach it. They get stuck in survival or spend years processing without ever integrating. But you have moved through the fire and emerged not just intact, but refined. The dross has burned away. What remains is essence. Light doesn't argue, it reveals. And the light you carry now is not something you need to manufacture or project. It simply radiates from the choices you've made, the integrity you've maintained, the compassion you've extended even when it cost you dearly. The path you've walked has been arduous, yes, but it has also been sacred. Every moment of doubt was an invitation to deepen. Every betrayal was a mirror asking you to clarify your values. Every loss was a stripping away of what was never truly yours, making space for what could only arrive when you were ready. And now, you stand at a threshold. The Powerful Group is not offering you a position. They're offering you a partnership. They recognize that what you bring cannot be taught or replicated. It can only be lived. And they need someone who has lived it, who knows the territory not from maps, but from walking every inch of it themselves. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next step in this journey. We're building something profound. Together, let's talk about what happens next. When you step into this new phase, you won't be stepping into a role someone else defined. You'll be stepping into a space where your unique expression is not just welcomed, but essential. The old models of leadership demanded conformity, performance, the sublimation of individuality for the sake of the organization. This new model works differently. It recognizes that your power comes precisely from your distinctiveness, from the singular way you weave together strength and vulnerability, clarity and compassion, action and reflection. You are not being asked to fit a mold. You are being invited to shatter it. Evidence indicates that organizations and movements led by individuals who honor their own complexity tend to foster greater innovation, resilience, and collective intelligence. When leaders stop pretending to have all the answers and instead create space for collaborative discovery, entire systems transform. What you tend to becomes you. You've tended to your own healing with patience and courage. You've tended to others with generosity that asked for nothing in return. And now, the garden you've cultivated, often in secret, often in darkness, is ready to bloom in ways you cannot yet imagine. The Powerful Group sees this. They see not just what you've done, but who you've become. And they recognize that the world is hungry, starving, actually, for leadership rooted in truth rather than image, in service rather than extraction, in empowerment rather than control. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Sometimes a message arrives at exactly the right moment. There's a question that sits at the heart of this entire moment. Are you willing to be seen? Not in the performative sense, not in the curated, filtered, controlled way the world has taught you, but truly seen in your complexity, your contradictions, your still healing places. Because that's what this invitation requires. It requires you to show up as you are, not as you think you should be. It requires you to trust that your humanity, your full, messy, beautiful humanity, is not a liability, but your greatest asset. The shadow is not absence. It's a room waiting to be entered. And you've already done the hardest work. You've walked into your own shadows, lit candles in the darkest corners, and integrated what you found there. This is why you can now hold space for others to do the same. This is why your leadership won't replicate the old patterns of denial and projection. Each breath places the soul at the right distance. When anxiety rises, when doubt creeps in, when the magnitude of this moment feels overwhelming, breathe. 3 slow breaths. Inhale through the nose, feeling the air descend into your belly. Exhale gently, releasing the grip of expectation. And in that space between breaths, ask yourself one simple question. What wants to be born in me today? Listen without forcing. The answer may not come in words. It may come as a feeling, an image, a sudden knowing. Trust it. This is how you've always navigated. Not by overthinking, but by listening to the quiet intelligence that lives beneath thought. The powerful group recognizes this quality in you. They've watched you make decisions not from ego, but from a deeper center. They've seen you choose the harder, right over the easier wrong, again and again, even when no one was watching. This is the foundation of true authority, not the kind that demands obedience, but the kind that inspires voluntary alignment. Fire returns what is essential. You've been through the fire. Everything that was superficial, performative, or borrowed has burned away. What remains is your essence, the irreducible core of who you are and why you're here. And now the powerful group is saying, we need that essence. We need your clarity in a world drowning in noise. We need your compassion in systems built on competition. We need your courage to show others that another way is possible. This is not a burden. This is not a weight you must carry alone. This is an invitation to collaborate with forces, both seen and unseen, that have been preparing this moment for longer than you know. You are not being asked to have all the answers. You're being asked to walk forward, one step at a time, trusting that the path will reveal itself as you move. Research suggests that individuals who embrace uncertainty while maintaining commitment to their values demonstrate greater adaptability and long-term success than those who cling to rigid plans. The willingness to not know, to remain open, to adjust course without losing direction. This is the hallmark of mature leadership. Dawn says, not everything is over. Even when the night felt endless, even when you couldn't see your hand in front of your face, dawn came anyway. It always does. And this October 22nd marks not just any dawn, but the one you've been walking toward your entire life. The powerful group has made their decision. The question now is, will you make yours? This is not about pressure or urgency. This is about readiness. And only you know if you're ready. Only you can feel whether this moment is calling you forward or whether there's still preparation to be done. There's no wrong answer. There's only your truth. But if you feel the stirring, the whisper that says, yes, this is it, this is what I've been preparing for, then don't let fear or doubt steal this moment from you. The world is filled with people who waited too long, who let the invitation pass, who convinced themselves they weren't ready, when in fact they were the only one who could do what needed to be done. You are not being asked to be perfect. You are not being asked to have it all figured out. You are being asked to be willing to step forward, willing to be seen, willing to trust that your presence matters more than you've allowed yourself to believe. What you contemplate contemplates you. The powerful group has contemplated you, studied you, recognized you. Now they're asking you to contemplate yourself, not with judgment or criticism, but with the clear-eyed acknowledgement of what you've survived, what you've learned, what you've become. Can you see it? Can you see the thread that runs through your entire life, connecting every hardship to every breakthrough, every loss to every expansion, every moment of despair to every emergence of unexpected grace? That thread is not random. It's the signature of purpose weaving itself through your days. And on October 22nd, that thread becomes visible not just to you, but to everyone who needs what you carry. The invitation is clear. The resources are ready. The protection is in place. The only thing missing is your yes. And when you say yes, not from desperation or ambition, but from alignment, everything shifts. Doors that were locked suddenly open. People who share your vision begin to appear. Opportunities that seemed impossible become inevitable. Not because you're lucky, but because you finally stepped into energetic coherence with your deepest calling. This is how the universe works. It doesn't reward striving, it rewards alignment. It doesn't respond to force, it responds to resonance. And you, after all these years of preparation, are finally resonating at the frequency of your purpose. The powerful group recognizes this frequency. They've been waiting for it. And now that it's here, now that you're here, they're ready to amplify it in ways you cannot yet comprehend. So let me ask you again, what wants to be born in you today? Not tomorrow, not when circumstances are better, not when you feel more confident. Today, right now, in this moment, because October 22 is not just a date on the calendar. It's a portal. It's the convergence of preparation and opportunity, of inner readiness and outer invitation. It's the moment when your private transformation becomes public contribution. The powerful group has made their decision about you. Your time has come. Now it's your turn to decide, will you step through the portal or will you let this moment pass? The path appears as we walk. You don't need to see the entire journey. You only need to take the next step. And that step begins with acknowledging what you already know deep in your bones. You were made for this. What light wants to enter your life now? It's the light you've been preparing to receive all along. Not the harsh, interrogating light that demands answers, but the soft illumination that allows you to finally see clearly what was always there. The powerful group isn't offering you a spotlight. They're offering you a mirror, one that reflects back the truth of your journey without distortion or flattery. And in that mirror, you'll see someone who survived what would have destroyed most people. You'll see someone who chose compassion when bitterness would have been easier. You'll see someone who kept showing up even when no one was counting, even when the world offered no reward for integrity. This is what makes October 22 so significant. It's not just another date. It's the moment when your invisible labor becomes visible contribution, when your private transformation becomes public service. When everything you've carried in silence finally finds its voice, the garden teaches us patience. What you've been tending in the soil of your inner life, the seeds of awareness, the roots of resilience, the careful pruning of what no longer serves, is now ready to break through the surface. But a garden doesn't bloom on command. It blooms when the conditions align, the right soil, the right season, the right balance of darkness and light. You are in that alignment now. Every hardship was the turning of the soil. Every loss was the pruning that allowed new growth. Every moment of doubt was the darkness that taught your roots to reach deeper. And now, finally, the conditions are perfect for you to emerge. The powerful group understands the mechanics of emergence. They know that true leaders aren't manufactured, they're cultivated. They aren't selected based on credentials. They're recognized by the quality of their presence. And they don't rise through force, they ascend through alignment with something greater than themselves. Studies in developmental psychology show that individuals who undergo what's called post-traumatic growth, transformation through adversity, often develop capacities far beyond those who've lived comfortable lives. They demonstrate enhanced empathy, deeper wisdom, greater creativity, and a more nuanced understanding of human complexity, not in spite of their wounds, but because of them. This is your secret advantage. While others were building empires of achievement, you were building something far more valuable. Character forged in fire, wisdom earned through suffering, authority that comes not from position, but from lived experience. The clock reminds us that outer time runs, but inner time listens. You've spent years in inner time, the deep cyclical time where true transformation happens. You've sat with your pain long enough to understand it. You've faced your shadows long enough to integrate them. You've listened to your truth long enough to trust it. And now, outer time is catching up. The world is ready for what you've been preparing. Not because you forced it, not because you marketed yourself perfectly, but because the frequency you're emanating has finally reached critical mass. When you change at the level of being, the world around you reorganizes itself to match. This is not mystical thinking. It's observable pattern. Neuroscience suggests that when individuals operate from states of coherence rather than fragmentation, they literally affect the energy of the spaces and people around them. Coherence is contagious, and you've done the work to achieve it. The powerful group has been waiting for someone operating from this level of integration. They don't need more performers. They need someone who's real. They don't need more controllers. They need someone who empowers. They don't need more extractors. They need someone who cultivates. Alchemy teaches us that transformation requires the right vessel, the right heat, and the right time. You have been the vessel, willingly containing all that needed to be transformed. The pressure you've experienced has been the heat, breaking down what was false, refining what was true. And now, finally, the time has arrived for the gold to be revealed. October 22nd marks the completion of one alchemical cycle and the beginning of another. Everything you've been through wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every challenge was curriculum. Every breakdown was actually a breakthrough in disguise, and the powerful group watched all of it. They watched you in your moments of greatest despair, and they saw someone who refused to become bitter. They watched you in your moments of betrayal, and they saw someone who chose forgiveness over vengeance. They watched you lose everything, and they saw someone who rebuilt not from ego, but from essence. This is the test that matters. Not the tests administered in schools or interviews. The test of character under fire, of integrity under pressure, of humanity under attack. And you passed not by being perfect, but by remaining fundamentally decent when every incentive pointed the other way. The mirror reveals what is, not what performs. And what the mirror reveals in you is rare. Someone who has faced the abyss and returned with gifts for others. Someone who knows the territory of suffering and can now guide others through it. Someone who carries light not because they avoided darkness, but because they learned to find the light within it. This is your value to the powerful group. Not what you can produce for them, but what you can be for the people they're trying to serve. They're building something that requires authentic leaders, people who walk their talk, who lead from the front, who don't ask anything of others that they haven't already asked of themselves. Research in organizational leadership consistently shows that authenticity is the most reliable predictor of sustained influence. Not charisma, not intelligence, not even competence, authenticity. The ability to be congruent, to operate without a split between public persona and private reality. This is what builds trust. This is what creates movements, and you've spent your entire life becoming authentic. Not because you wanted to be a leader, but because you had no choice. Life stripped away everything false until all that remained was the truth of who you are. The shadow is not absence. It's a room waiting to be entered, and you've entered yours. You've sat in the discomfort of not knowing. You've faced the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. You've made peace with your complexity. And this integration is what allows you now to hold space for others without judgment, without projection, without the need to fix or rescue. The powerful group needs this quality desperately. The old models of leadership were built on denial. Deny your weakness, deny your doubt, present a facade of invulnerability. But those models are collapsing. People are hungry for leaders who are real, who admit when they don't have answers, who share power rather than hoarding it. You embody this new model not because you studied it, but because you lived it. You learned through necessity that vulnerability is not weakness, but courage. That not knowing is not failure, but wisdom. That asking for help is not dependence, but strength. Outer time runs. Inner time listens. And you've become someone who listens, who can hear the whispers beneath the words, who can sense the patterns beneath the chaos, who can trust the intelligence that lives in stillness rather than the noise that demands constant action. This is the foundation of true discernment. Not the ability to think faster or know more, but the ability to attune to truth beyond information. The powerful group recognizes this capacity in you because it cannot be faked. It can only be developed through countless hours of inner listening, of choosing presence over performance, of trusting the quiet knowing that emerges when ego finally steps aside. October 22nd is when that quiet knowing becomes loud action. Not loud in the sense of noise or spectacle, but loud in the sense of undeniable impact. The kind of leadership that doesn't announce itself, but is felt immediately by everyone in its presence. What you water grows, even in silence. And you've been watering the right things: patience, presence, compassion, discernment, courage, humility. Not the things the world typically rewards: status, wealth, recognition, power over others, but the things that actually matter. The things that transform lives. The things that last. The powerful group sees the garden you've cultivated. They see it's not for show. They see that every plant, every bloom serves a purpose. And they want to help you scale it, not in a way that compromises its integrity, but in a way that allows more people to benefit from what you've grown. This is the invitation: to take what you've learned in private and offer it publicly, to take what you've cultivated in solitude and share it in community, to take what you've discovered in darkness and bring it into light.